Amy Leffringhouse, and Amy is a Natural Resources, Environment, and Energy Extension Educator. So we're excited for our winter night sky tour, Amy, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Erin, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Like Erin said, if you want to get your phone out or your device out and scan the QR code or go to that web address above the Illinois map, everyone can see where you are from. We're going to use this poll again for a few other activities throughout the webinar. So this will get you into that system. As for me, I am coming to you from good old Pike County, Illinois. I'm over here on the west central side of the state. I'm in the land between the rivers over here in Pike County. So I'm really happy to be here and to be talking to you this afternoon about the night sky. So let's get started. Today we will be throughout the next hour, I will be sharing with you how to become a better stargazer and amateur astronomer. I will be sharing tips and just little tools that I use in my experience. When you think about the night sky, when you think of the words everyday environment, or you think of the words natural resources, you probably don't think about the night sky, but it is a resource that we need to pay attention to. So we're going to go over the benefits of a dark sky. We're going to go over the process and how to prepare yourself for a stargazing session. Give you a basic orientation to the night sky, what objects that we might look for when we're looking up into the sky. We're going to go through a tour of different winter night sky objects that we can see here from Illinois. And then as we go through the webinar today, I'll be throwing out different tools and resources that I use, and Erin will be sharing those links in the chat box as we go along. And like Erin said, we'll have some time for question and answer at the end of the webinar today. So I want to kick things off. This is an activity I've liked to do with other groups, but I want you to, again, use your phone or a device. We can see if we get any responses here, but I want you to think about one commercial product that is related to astronomy, space, or the night sky. Words should pop up. If you type them into your phone and click submit, they should pop up on here today. An example could be like a Ford Taurus car that I don't know if they still make Ford Taurus cars, but that's an example. What are other commercial products that you can think of that are astronomy related? I'll give you a few seconds here. What about brand names? Like the Ford Taurus. Ooh, I see Comet like the cleaner, a Saturn car. I see that. Oh, Sirius Radio, Sirius XM. Orion, there's a brand of Orion telescopes. Moon pies, that's a good one. Mars bars. That's fun. The Apollo Theater. Yes, wonderful. Well, great job. This activity just shows that as a society, we really have a really big fascination with astronomy and the stars. They've inspired us, and they have kind of infused itself into our commercial products. So marketing people like to use that, and it brings to mind a lot of different fascinating things to people's mind when they think about astronomy related things. Some other examples are like a Chevy Nova. Those have been obviously Comet, the cleaner. A Subaru is actually, if you look on the logo of a Subaru car, Subaru actually means the Pleiades in Japanese. So those stars on the front of a Subaru car are actually the Pleiades, which is kind of neat. So just a fun activity to start off. Celestial events. So celestial events get really a lot of attention in the media, the social media. And I didn't know if anyone, hopefully you guys had a better night sky than I had last night. It was fairly overcast and cloudy for the lunar occultation of Mars. So the lunar occultation just means that the moon moved between us standing on the Earth, our perspective on the Earth, and Mars. The moon moved between Mars and actually covered up Mars for about an hour last night. But there were also other really cool things that all happened at once last night. The moon was full, which was neat. Mars was also in opposition, which means the sun, the Earth, and Mars were all together in a straight line. And Mars was also closest to the Earth last night, and so the brightest in our sky last night. So a lot of things were happening last night. The lunar occultation of Mars only happens every 26 months. So the next time this occurs won't be until January of 2025. So this picture is from Stellarium, which is a planetarium software, open source free software online. And I'm sure lots of astrophotographers last night were trying to get this exact image where Mars is right on the edge of the moon. So hopefully where you were located, you were able to see some of this last night. So why do we want to stargaze in the wintertime? The wintertime gives us a lot of advantages of stargazing. The obvious kind of con about winter stargazing is that the temperature is cold, right? But we can put on our layers and things like that to abate the cold. But the atmosphere is a lot clearer in the wintertime. There is less humidity other than last night and the last few nights. Typically, the atmosphere is a lot more clear, less humid in the wintertime. The winter hours of darkness are a lot longer, so it gets dark really early. So 4:40, I think, is my sunset over here in Western Illinois, so we can get out into the field fairly early rather than in the summertime when we were going out at around 10 o'clock and we're trying to stay up super late to see those objects. But when we can get out into that field early, that's one of the advantages of stargazing in the wintertime. We also have beautiful, beautiful constellations, stars, all different types of things that come out during the winter season. So that's another advantage of stargazing in the wintertime. And there are no insects in the wintertime, so you don't have to battle the insects. So we're going to go through a little bit of a checklist here, finding our date and location if we want to have a stargazing session, gathering our supplies, orienting ourselves with the sky, and finding objects. So in terms of finding a location, I want to turn your attention to this light pollution map. This is the website up above. If you are going out in your backyard, say, this might not be too helpful, although you can look at your location on this map at any time and see what your brightness of your sky is. But if you're making a trip outside of town or outside of city limits and trying to find somewhere where you want to, ensure that you're going to have a dark sky, this is a great map to use. It's spans all over the world. I want to turn your attention to this Bortle class code here. This is a location where I like to stargaze, and it's obviously in this blue area, which is darker, which is awesome, but it is a class 3 sky on the Bortle scale. So I want you to remember that. And on this next slide, I'll show you a little bit more about the Bortle scale. So these numbers up here show the Bortle scale. going from 1 as a very, very dark sky up to 9, which is an inner city sky where you can only see some of the brightest objects. When we're finding a location, we want that kind of goal to find that 3 to 4 class 3 or class 4 sky. That's where we can get the best views of objects that we want to see. But what are the benefits of this dark sky? Why do we want it to be dark, and what can happen if it isn't dark? The benefits really are for us, for our wildlife, for our plants, for all of us. A dark sky really signals to wildlife different events in their life cycle. So whether it be bird migration, whether it be a breeding season, for plants, that length of darkness is going to signal different events in their life cycle. There are some pollinators that only pollinate during the dark sky hours. So that dark sky is really important to the survival of those plants and animals. Obviously, nocturnal wildlife, they are surviving in the nighttime, right? That is when they're feeding and they're hunting. So they need that dark sky. As far as humans are concerned, a dark sky really improves our sleep quality. There has been research done that if we have too much light, too much brightness, it will interrupt our circadian rhythm, our day and night rhythm, which leads to lots of different illnesses, health issues and things like that. So a dark sky really improves our sleep quality. It reduces glare as well. You guys know when you're driving at night or when you're walking at night, a dark sky reduces that glare. And of course, for all of us on this call that are interested in the night sky, we get a better view of the stars. So I just really wanted to point out these benefits, because going back into your communities and looking at the light fixtures and looking at how your community is putting out light and light pollution might be something that you want to do as you're moving forward and going through your journey of becoming a better stargazer, amateur astronomer, and that sort of thing. So back to our location, we've used the light pollution map. We want that class 3 or 4 sky. Moving outside of city limits, 20 to 30 miles is a great thing to do if you're trying to find a location to go. A high altitude is great if you've got bluffs or higher overlook points. Paying attention to the horizon obstacles. You might want to see some of those objects that are in the horizon. So just paying attention if you have buildings and trees or things like that. Just kind of planning ahead about where you want to go. Knowing your latitude as well. Some celestial events like last night, the occultation wasn't seen all over North America. So I'm in Pike County, which is over here between the 39 and 40 degree latitude lines, but knowing your location and your latitude and longitude is important when you're, Googling different events that are happening. Am I going to see this eclipse? Am I going to see this conjunction or different types of events? Knowing where you're at is important. Before you make a trip out there to go see something that you might not be able to see. And then of course, it almost goes without saying, but make sure you have landowner permission if you're going out on to private property or finding a public space is a part of that checklist of finding your location. Obviously, dates, when we're looking at different dates, we want to find a clear night. And one of the tools that I use to make sure that the sky is going to be clear is a website called cleardarksky.com. This is a screenshot, but it shows out 3 days ahead what the cloud cover is going to be. Typically, I'm using this top line here and looking to see what my cloud cover can be. There's lots of other different factors that you can use here, especially if you're more advanced and you're using different tools and you really want to see something. There are lots of different factors here that you can look at to make sure that your date is going to work out before you go set up all your things or travel or that sort of thing. Also, the moon phase, you want the sky to be as dark as possible when you are looking at objects, and a new moon is obviously most ideal if you're looking at stars and other objects outside of the moon. If you're studying the moon, obviously, you want to look at different phases of the moon at different times, but NASA has a great tool where you can just put in the month and the day and figure out what your moon phase is before you make that trip. And what's going to be in the sky on the date that you want to go out. I have a few different tools that I like to use to print out my sky star charts. Sky and Telescope has a great interactive star chart tool online. It'll print out a black and white copy of this, but you can put your location, your date, your time. It gives you a printout of the stars and the objects in the sky at that particular time. The Astronomical League also has a really great monthly guide that I don't know, picks out different cool features, really focuses on star hopping through the sky and what you can look through throughout a whole month. So I like to use that often as well. Oh, I forgot to mention NASA Night Sky Network also has a night sky planner on their website as well. It's usually just a one night thing. So, you know, you're getting on there one night, what's going on that night. It has the moon phase and different types of things. So that's a great resource, NASA Night Sky Network. Supplies. So making a grab and go kit. Some of you guys might be a little bit more advanced on your journey. Some of you guys might be beginners, but these are the things that I like to take out when I go out. Number one, a red flashlight or headlamp, making sure that it has that red feature on there. When you're flipping back and forth between your sky chart, you're looking at your sky chart, you're turning it on, you're looking back up at the sky. You want to make sure that light is red so that it doesn't affect your eyes. Turning on and off a white light really affects your eyes. There are also, if you have apps that you're using on your phone, most of those apps have a night vision or a night light option when you're out in the field as well. A laser pointer, you guys may or may not have used this before, but a green, preferably green laser pointer. You can go online and find these as astronomy laser pointers. It is the best tool to use if you are with a partner or with a group to point out things in the sky. You know, you're trying to look up and you're like, over there, over there, over there, but the laser pointer really helps. And it's a really great tool to have in your bag. Binoculars. A lot of people ask, oh, what should be my first telescope? Binoculars. Binoculars should be your first telescope. They're not a lot of investment. Typically people have them in their houses. I think, Erin, you have a link on there. The NASA Night Sky Network has a really great write-up about what types of binoculars would be best to use for astronomy, but they don't have to be super fancy. And binoculars, you know, at first I was a skeptic, but then I started to use my binoculars more and more, and there's a lot of things that you can see. In fact, the Royal Astronomical League of Canada has a entire program that has, I think, over 155 different targets that you can find with binoculars. So they're really a good thing to have in your kit. Obviously a star chart, like we just talked about, and a clip. I like to put mine on a clipboard so I'm not losing it. Goes in your kit, and then a smartphone with different apps. I like to try to go appless, you know, and trying to locate things myself and just challenge myself to find these things. But it is nice if you needed it, if you were just walking out of your backyard and you were, you know, looking up in the sky and you just wanted to see something real quick. But that smartphone, it also has a compass on there so you can orient yourself to north fairly easily as well. Comfort items, you guys know. But your blanket, your reclining chair, those zero gravity chairs are pretty awesome. Hot drinks if you're in the winter time, heated foot warmers, and then if it's summertime, don't forget that insect repellent. So once we're out in the field, so we've got ourselves together, we've got everything in our kit, we've got it by the door, right? So we are getting ready to go out to the field. Once we get out there, we need to orient ourselves to north. And when I used to teach this to kiddos, we would be like, well, which way is north? And they would say, oh, the North Star. Well, where is that? And then they didn't know. But easy ways to find north, obviously a compass. Second, if you know where the sun has set, or you're out there and you know the direction the sun is set, north is going to be on your right, right? So that's an easy way to find north, just to orient yourself to north. Star hopping and finding Polaris is, for me, one of the easiest ways to find Polaris or the North Star. So on this screen here, you can see the Big Dipper, part of Ursa Major. You see the handle coming up from the bottom, and you see the pan here. If you follow the 2 stars at the end of the pan of the Big Dipper, you will always point yourself toward the North Star right here. So that's called star hopping, when you use constellations to guide yourself to another star or another constellation. That's what we call star hopping. So that is how to find the North Star fairly easily. Sky movement. So the sky's not moving, right? The Earth is moving, but the sky from our vantage point is moving from the east to the west. So all around Polaris, and I'll show you in the next slide how that goes. And then object location, trying to figure out, once we found north, we know that the sky moves from east to west. How are we going to start to find objects? So star hopping is a nice process to use. I think as you continue on your journey to become a better stargazer, researching how to use celestial coordinates, right ascension and declination would be something that would be the next on your to-do list if you don't know that already. That is basically, the latitude and longitudinal grid up in the sky. All of the stars and all of those objects have a coordinate that where you can find them. And constellations can be used to find objects. We might talk about where is Mars tonight? Where is Mars tonight? Because they wander around, and Mars isn't, Mars might be in the constellation Taurus. Find Taurus and you'll find the object. So using constellations to find different objects in the sky is a good way to start as well. This is a video here taken from Stellarium again. If you haven't used Stellarium, it's an awesome tool. But I'm going to play this, and this is just showing tonight's night sky. If you look at Taurus here, you can see Taurus is rising in the east and coming across the sky. We've got the North Star here. This is our pole that everything is rotating around, right? So we're watching Taurus come across the sky and then set in the western sky. So that is the sky movement. And once you have that good understanding of that, you will be able to continue to locate objects a lot easier. So when we go outside, and this is something that I learned as I started to go outside, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. There's this constellation and that's constellation, but what else? What else are we looking for out here? What exciting things are we looking for? But we're looking for different types of objects. Planets and moons obviously are your brightest objects in the sky. Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, our own moon. Stars, there are all kinds of different variations of stars that we'll go through. We might look for meteors or meteor showers during different times of year. And then, of course, celestial events like we had last night, the occultation, the lunar occultation of Mars, eclipses, conjunctions where 2 objects appear to be meeting each other in the sky. Those are all different types of things that you can put in kind of your star life list. Some people have like a bird life list, right? This is like a star or night sky object life list that we want to find on our own, which is exciting for me. So let's start with our planets and moons. These are the brightest objects in the sky. These are the first ones that are going to come out of an evening. The first things you're going to see right now, we're seeing Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars in our night sky. They're also called the wanderers. So stars and constellations are always, located in the same spot, right? We might see different constellations during different times of year, but they're always oriented next to the same other constellations. They're always in the same spot. Planets, on the other hand, are wanderers. So they're all over everywhere. They're orbiting the sun just like we are orbiting the sun. So you never know. Well, I mean, we do know, but they're not going to be in the same place each night. They follow an ecliptic, which is the path of the sun, the planets, the moon, all follow this imaginary line around our sky or through the sky that is called the ecliptic. And in fact, all the zodiac signs are located on the ecliptic, and that's how that came about. And then our moon, of course, we can study our moon. We can do a lot of, try to locate a lot of things on our moon. The lunar seas, impact craters, looking at it at different phases are all things that we can study when we're looking at these objects. This is just kind of a picture that's showing the ecliptic in the sky, just that imaginary line that goes through the sky. When you're looking at different star charts and things like that, a lot of times they'll show the ecliptic on your star chart, but the sun, the moon, and all of our planets follow that same imaginary line through the sky. Moving on to stars. So there's lots of different variations and things that we can look for when we're looking at stars. Double stars, Mizar and Alcor, which are in Ursa Major or the Big Dipper. Constellations we'll go through here in a little bit when we go through our winter night sky tour. Different star clusters. So we have open or globular star clusters, which we're showing Pleiades here. We'll talk more about Pleiades here in a bit. And then nebulae. So this is the Orion Nebula. Star nurseries. I was reading and doing some research, and star nurseries look like a baby, all wrapped up in a blanket. They have lots of dust and particles and things all around them, and makes it really interesting to look at the night sky. Constellations. I want to give you, before we dive into constellations, I want to give you a little bit of a historical context of constellations. I'm going to try to get this website over here for you guys to see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. Can you see this, Erin?
We see your PowerPoint screen.
You see the PowerPoint screen. Okay. Let me see if I can. How about this?
Yes.
So this website is pretty cool. It's a visual representation website of how different constellations or how the stars are interpreted differently. So of course the night sky, it has been here over time. It connects all of us from different locations. It connects all of us through time, right? But different cultures looked at the stars differently. So we all had different stories from the sky. Our Western constellations are what modern astronomers use today. We have 88 different constellations that are lined out in the sky. And that are referred to by modern astronomers. But different cultures use different constellations and tell stories in different ways. So this is just a graphic showing Betelgeuse, and Betelgeuse is a star within Orion. They're big red supergiant star in Orion, and you can see in our constellation, Western constellation Orion, but all these different colored lines are the different ways that different sky cultures have referred to Betelgeuse. So our Western culture, we of course use Betelgeuse in Orion, which is the great hunter, and we'll talk more about Orion. But if we look over here at Egyptian culture, they use Betelgeuse in a different way. So they put together different pictures in the sky. This is a humanoid, type of figure here, and this is the father of their gods called Sa. And the Egyptian culture have only 28 constellations that they interpreted in the sky and had different meanings behind. If we turn to the Navajo culture, they only had 8 different constellations in the sky. And they use Betelgeuse and this constellation called the first Slim One, who was a leader who led tribes or led people across from a land of desolation to a land of peace and harmony. So this is supposedly his walking stick or his or her walking stick. But it's just very interesting how the sky is kind of that natural wonder and the only natural wonder that hasn't changed over time. Our landscape has changed a lot over time, but the night sky hasn't. So I just thought this was really interesting just to see that historical context of different constellations. All right, we're going to try to switch back over here. All right, can you see my screen?
We see the presenter mode, so we can see your notes.
Oh, that's weird. Let's see. How about this one? Better?
Yes.
Okay.
Good to go.
Okay. So now we're going to move on. We've got a little bit of historical context about our constellations. What are we going to see tonight and throughout the winter time in the Illinois winter night sky? So as oddly as it is to start off with, we can see the summer triangle, but it is in the ending time frame of its existence in the night sky. So the summer triangle is composed of 3 very bright stars in the night sky, easy to identify and find. So when you're going out there in the night sky for the first time, the brightest objects out there are the first things that are going to stick out to you, right? The summer triangle, which would be in the eastern sky, the western sky, about ready to set, is where you can find the summer triangle. So we've got Vega down here in Lyra. We have Deneb, which is in Cygnus, the swan, and we have Altair over here, which is in Aquila, the eagle. It's the eagle eye. So when you're out, this screen is showing you from stellarium to night sky at 8 o'clock at 8:01. So right before it sets in the western horizon, you should be able to pick out the summer triangle before it fades away and gives way to the winter constellations. So here are a few that I'm going to kind of highlight that are some of the major constellations that can be found in the winter night sky. And we'll start with Pegasus. Pegasus is a winged horse in Greek mythology, but is also called the Great Square. So you have the term constellation and you have the term asterism. Asterism is different shapes in the sky, but not deemed a full constellation and not part of the 88 constellations that we have. So Pegasus is the winged horse, and that is its definition and as the constellation, and has all these stars out here included in that. The asterism within Pegasus is called the Great Square, which is easy to find in the night sky. They're all about the same brightness. They can be found right above, Jupiter. And then some of the stories that come with Pegasus is obviously he is connected to Andromeda. Right over here off the screen is Perseus and Andromeda were married. Pegasus, as the winged horse, actually worked with Perseus to save Andromeda from the crazy sea dragon. So that's why they are located in the sky together. So Pegasus is right here near the Andromeda galaxy as well. but Pegasus and the Andromeda constellation are connected. Pegasus actually was put up into the sky, and Zeus, the god Zeus, gave him the I guess privilege to carry Zeus's thunder. So that's part of the Greek mythology behind Pegasus. But Pegasus, the Great Square, usually right above you. If you're facing south, it'll be right above you. 4 big stars. It's a giant constellation, really big, takes up a lot of space. So that's Pegasus. Then we're going to go and we're going to kind of move. We're going to move across the sky as to what would be coming up first and setting first. So we're going to move next to Cassiopeia, which is a really easy constellation to see over and over again. It is in the shape of a W. I always think, well, this is the shape of an M, but I always say a W, and it looks like a crown in the night sky because Cassiopeia is the queen of the night sky. It is a circumpolar constellation. It is closely located to Polaris, or the North Star, so it is seen the entire year. It makes a tiny little circle around Polaris, so you can see Cassiopeia throughout the entire year. She was the mother to Andromeda, which I just talked about, who was Cassiopeia was a very arrogant individual. Her king Cepheus is right next to her, but they had their daughter Andromeda, and she thought they were the most beautiful things in the sky. And Poseidon, the king of the sea, didn't like that. So Cepheus and Cassiopeia had to, according to Greek mythology, had to sacrifice their daughter Andromeda, and then who then was saved by Perseus and Pegasus. So those are some of the stories that kind of go behind Cassiopeia. But Cassiopeia has very bright stars, very easy to find. So then moving eastward here into the eastern sky, this is where we have a lot of activity, a lot of really beautiful things going on. And this is what makes the winter sky just an amazing, wintertime, an amazing time to look up at the sky. So the eastern sky, we have, first I'll talk about Orion, Taurus, and this little bitty star cluster up here called Pleiades. So Pleiades, I'll talk about Pleiades first, but Pleiades is the 7 sisters. But with the naked eye and with the binoculars, you can see more, but with the naked eye, you can almost only see 6. So they wonder, scholars wonder in Greek mythology, did that 7th sister actually fall in love with Orion? So Pleiades is the 7 sisters over here. Orion down here on the lower part of my screen was in love with one of the 7 sisters. So Orion, being the great hunter, is looking over here toward Pleiades and the seven sisters. One thing about Pleiades is a lot of people think that Pleiades, or get Pleiades confused with the Little Dipper. You can see kind of there's a shape, maybe resemblance, possibly. Pleiades is kind of like a little fuzzy object in the sky, and a lot of people think that must be the Little Dipper. But as you can see, there's a big size difference between the Little Dipper and Pleiades. And just note that that there is a big difference between the two as far as size. These are some of the stars that you can see in Pleiades. Of course, there are more than 7 sisters. The rising of Pleiades over many, many cultures was very significant. So when Pleiades started to rise, it signaled different things in different cultures. It may have signaled in some cultures the beginning of a new year. It may have signaled the beginning of a growing season. So Pleiades was mentioned over and over in lots of different ancient cultures. So we've talked about Pleiades. I want to move down here to Orion. Orion, like I said, is the great hunter, and he was in love with one of the Pleiades sisters. But Orion, from an astronomical standpoint, is amazing. It has a lot of interesting features inside of it. It has the big star Betelgeuse, which is a red supergiant. Betelgeuse is the 10th brightest object in the sky. It also has, I call it Rigel, some people pronounce it Rigel, but Rigel, it is a newer star. You can see the difference in colors of these two stars, even when you're looking at it with the naked eye. Betelgeuse, being an older star, is getting into the later stages of its life. Rigel, being a newer star, is that white, hot, kind of bluish white color. Some of the most notable, easy to find objects in the sky within Orion is Orion's belt here. 3 stars in very close proximity to one another. They are all pretty much the same magnitude. So they're all the same brightness. So you can see those fairly easily to locate Orion coming up in the eastern sky in the wintertime. Orion, these are his shoulders, these are his legs. We've got his sword that comes up here. We've got his shield here. His right here coming off of his belt and down. This is kind of what they call the sheath of Orion's sword. And down here is an amazing area called the Orion Nebula. And like I said, a nebula is a star nursery. And you can see this with binoculars really well. All the new stars, the fuzziness, the particles around there is really, really a beautiful sight to see, and really cool when you actually find it on your own without aids, and you get that into your binoculars or your telescope view. Between Pleiades and Orion, the king did not want Orion to fall in love with Pleiades. So he placed this Taurus, the bull, between the two figures to protect the Pleiades sisters from Orion. So right here in the middle, we have Taurus, the bull. And Taurus is the bull's eye. Aldebaran here is very, very bright star. It is actually the 14th brightest star in the sky at night. But you can see this nice little V, and there's another cluster here called the Hyades cluster. So you've got the Pleiades and the Hyades right here next to one another. So another really beautiful object that you can see in the night sky with your binoculars. So we've got this story of these 3 characters here in the night sky. Moving on, let's talk about Capella, because Capella actually is the 6th brightest star. So you're going to find Capella right away because it is so bright. Near Pleiades, it's near Taurus. You'll be able to see Capella. It's connected to this hexagonal object called Auriga, which is a constellation of the charioteer, a chariot driver. But Capella is a really beautiful star, a new hot star that is really easy to see. Down below Auriga is Gemini, and Gemini are the twins. The twins, heads of the twins are noted by 2 really bright stars called Castor and Pollux. And Castor and Pollux can be easily found through star hopping. So if you find Orion in the winter night sky and start at Rigel, move through Betelgeuse and move up, you will find Castor and Pollux very easily. Sometimes people can be confused between Capella and its neighboring star in the Auriga constellation that might look like Castor and Pollux because they're near one another. But you can tell that the magnitude, the brightness of Capella is so much different than its neighboring star. You'll know that is not Castor and Pollux of the Gemini constellation. So this is the eastern sky. This is about 8 o'clock at night, like I said before. Lots of very, very interesting things, lots of things to see. Obviously, right now the moon and Mars are over in this area as well at 8 o'clock. So it's just a really beautiful, beautiful area to discover in the night sky. Last, we talked about the 4 different types of objects. The last object or last types of objects that I want to talk about are meteor showers and comets. Annually, there is a meteor shower each a meteor shower that there are meteor showers that happen each year. Right now, there's a meteor shower called the Geminids happening right now. Its peak comes in about a week or a little bit less than the week. It is has the most meteors per hour than any other meteor shower that happens in our hemisphere. The only bad thing about this year with the Geminid meteor shower is the moon is at 72%. And like we talked about earlier, the moon is, takes away some of that sky with its brightness. So you'll still be able to see shooting stars or meteors streaking across the sky during that time, but you won't see as many. The next meteor shower peaks around the new year. It is another major meteor shower, but again, the moon is going to be almost full during that period of time, so you won't be able to see it at its peak. The Perseids, I'm sure those of you who are astronomy lovers know about the Perseid meteor shower. It's very popular, well known, happens at the end of summer, so a lot of people are able to take in this Perseid meteor shower. It's a medium level meteor shower at 50 to 70 meteors per hour. But the cool thing about this summer in 2023 is that the moon is going to be just at 10%. So we should be able to see plenty of meteors during that meteor shower. So back to, I want to give you a little bit of a quiz before we finish up by the end of the day. Back to your phones. If you get your phones out, scan the code. It might come up. Let me make sure over here I've got it activated. But I want you to look at this sky. You might have to zoom in on your phone if you have a smaller phone like I do, but I want you to test yourself in the sky. Somebody already has it, but test yourself in the sky. I tried to limit the number of visual cues that were out there, but this is what you're going to see. You're not going to see all the lines in the sky, and you're not going to see all these labels in the sky. So can you find Orion's belt in this sky? We are looking, this is the eastern sky on the right, western sky. The northern sky is down at the bottom. Southern sky is at the top. Good guesses. Nice work out there. I see a lot of you over here that you are correct over here. We see these 3 dots right together over here on the right side of the screen in the eastern sky rising. That is Orion's belt, and that's what you'll look for rising in the east over there. You can see both of the shoulders of Orion and then the legs that come down in Orion. Right here next to Orion, remember we've got Orion the Hunter, we've got the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, and what do we have between? We have Taurus the Bull. So this is Aldebaran, it's Bright Eye, the Bull, and you can see the V here of Taurus, which is really cool. I have another one. I have another little another quiz for you here. Where are Castor and Pollux of the Gemini constellation? Close, yes. Awesome. You guys did a really good job. That is correct over here on the right side. If you remember, Rigel is here. We saw Ryan's belt up here. Rigel is up at the top. If we follow Rigel straight through Betelgeuse, we're going to hop right over and it points us right straight to the twins of Gemini, Castor and Pollux right here. This over here, I was talking about sometimes the confusion of Castor and Pollux, this is Capella, and this is its neighboring star. You can see Auriga kind of moving around here. That is where some people can get confused, but you can see that Capella is much, much brighter than its neighboring star. Okay, great job. Nice work. You guys are good. Okay, some of the tools and resources, I'll hurry through these because I'm running out of time. But like I said, Erin, and within a follow-up email, there are several links to all of these. But for star charts and star maps, I like to use that Sky and Telescope and the Astronomical League. Sky Condition, these are the two tools that I talked about. You might just take a picture of this screen. Phone and tablet apps, I like to use Stellarium. Has a web app, but it also has a phone app too, and it's a great app. I also use Skyview every now and again. General websites out there, obviously NASA is a great website about there's a sky watching specific website, and I included that in the link list. The Lawrence Hall of Science Planetarium has some great information online. And if you want to find more targets to look for, either with your binoculars, or with a telescope, with your unaided eye, the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada has some really great programs where you can find different targets to look for. If you want to look for astronomy clubs that are in your area, a listing of astronomy clubs through the Astronomical League or NASA Night Sky Network will show you clubs that might be in your area. And then here in the middle, I just listed a couple sites. I saw someone was from Homer, and Homer, I think, is an International Dark Sky Association community. I don't have them listed here, but welcome, Homer community residents. But we do have two official Illinois dark sky parks in Illinois. Middle Fork River Forest Preserve in Champaign County was the first. Make sure to, if you are really into this, make sure you put that on your list of places to go. And Powell's Preserves, which is outside of the city in Cook County, is also one of the newer certified Illinois dark sky parks in Illinois. There are a couple annual astronomy events, some bigger star parties. The Illinois Dark Skies Star Party happens annually in the fall at Jim Edgar Panther Creek, which is outside of Springfield in central Illinois. And then the Bootleg Spring Star Party is in north central Illinois. Next steps, what should we do next? I will be sending you, and I think Erin has a link for this as well, a stargazer challenge, just a beginner stargazer challenge, locating some basic constellations, learning celestial coordinates, things like that, celebrating the winter solstice. So those are some next steps that you can take on your own and try to challenge yourself and find these things without any aids out in the field. There are, like I mentioned already, observing programs to find targets. So I talked about the Society of Canada, but the Astronomical League also has observing programs where you can collect pins. It's all on your own. It's self-reporting. It gives you lots of different targets to look for. There's beginner, mid, advanced different programs that you can use or that you can go through, and you can collect different pins. And also think about becoming a dark sky advocate. The International Dark Sky Association has great resources on their website to kind of evaluate your communities, evaluate your own property for what types of light pollution that you might be emitting out into the air. What types of street lights. I did this for some students before, and we did kind of an inventory of different lights that are in our community, and you'll never look at a street light or a parking lot light ever the same after you do that. So just think about what you could do in your community. I'll leave you then before we start. We have a few minutes for questions. This is just a fun poem that just talks about the different constellations that come up during the winter night sky. And I thought it was just fitting for our time today. So I thank you guys so much for joining us today. Do we have any questions that I might be able to answer while I have you on here?
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Amy. That was a wonderful presentation and lots of great resources. Like she said, we will send those out because I didn't put them all in there. I put a lot of them, but there's a lot of great information that you can spend a lot of time diving into after the presentation.
Thank you for tuning in to CUI's TV. We hope you enjoyed the show. This video can be accessed anytime on youtube.com. In the YouTube search bar, type in UPTV6 and look for their microphone logo. We hope you will join us again next week for more local, engaging content designed specifically for Champaign County